Alrighty, good morning everybody. Happy Monday. Today is Monday, July 27th, here at 8:30 in the Senior Lounge per usual. Welcome back to another Virtual Academy window. Virtual Academy window opens today and it closes at 5 p.m. on, I guess, Wednesday, the 29th. So we are here to... Hold on. Commenters will be able to comment every 10 seconds. Only your followers. Discussion restricted, protected. No, I don't want that either. I want this. I kind of want all of them. Okay, so there we go. Sorry, I was tinkering with some settings, and now I have this new spot on the feed that was preventing comments from going in. I'm trying to allow all of them, but it seems like if any of you who have commented in the past are unable to comment now, shoot me an email at cpatton2, cpatton2 @wcpss.net. I know that there are some parents who can watch this, but they cannot participate in the chat. I'm working on seeing if Facebook Live, not Facebook Live, if YouTube Live will circumvent that, and we might just be able to switch platforms. But we're looking at some other options so we can get more folks involved in the chat. I also will be a little more cautious, seeing as WRAL seems to be pulling footage from these videos to put on the news. So that being said, one quick announcement. Miss McGinnis will be here on campus on August 6th and August 7th from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. They will also be here on August 18th and August 19th. On August 18th from 10 to 1, August 19th and 20th from 4 to 7 outside the cafeteria. I'll get some more details on that location, but we are working on getting opportunities to come and get your spiritware if you want it. All the spiritware supports the athletic programs at Millbrook, and just to shout out, because of economics, we're going to need that support this year differently than we have in previous years. Apparently there's new stuff and some vintage favorites. I'm still keeping my fingers crossed for a zip-up hoodie. Okay, so that being said, wondering if anybody has any questions about, I just want to turn content moderation off. Can I do that? It seems like there's a whole bunch of people who are not able to comment. Good question. SAT and ACT exams, how would that happen? I don't know. I know the ACT has been doing online exams. Some schools take the ACT online. I don't know if there would be some sort of at-home authentication opportunity for that. SAT, I can't really speak to. Those happen on the weekends. They happen on school sites, but they're managed by like an SAT coordinator at the school. No real idea about that. Setting stream comments. Hold on. Let me keep. I don't want any. Okay. I think I've got comment moderation sorted back out. So if you're there and you've been frustrated that you haven't been able to comment, maybe try again and let me know. I don't know why that's being so funky today. Again, the Virtual Academy window is open, so you can sign up. You can opt out and back into Plan B, or you can edit your full year to semester or vice versa. I know that the change to block scheduling weighed heavily on a lot of people. So yeah, something just happened that seems to be a whole lot better in comment land. Anyway, the change to block scheduling was something for consideration. So we've had several emails this morning already requesting updates to that in one way or the other. Again, also with the change last week going to the Plan B transition, a lot of people got the first dose of how quickly the setting for students on campus might change. And we're like, okay, virtual academy it is because it will be consistent and we know it. So anyway, you have today, tomorrow, and the business day on Wednesday to sign up, to sign out, or to edit your input there. Today is going to be sort of a short one because we have a big faculty update at 9. So I need to make sure that I'm available to help Ms. King get set up. We're going to try and do some different camera microphone stuff for her. But I promised last week to go a little bit more in depth into my calendar journey. So I'm going to do that while I wait on questions in the chat. Oh, no, we've got some questions. What will happen if a teacher is at the school only teaches one subject and is deemed to be a virtual academy teacher? What happens to Plan ABC kids to receive instruction in that subject? The immediate answer is we don't totally know those details yet. But so I'm going to use our music production teacher as a case study, right? Like nobody else out there is teaching music production, and he would be frustrated that I continue to call it music production and not audio engineering. But if he were to apply and receive the opportunity to stay at home for medical reasons, the Plan ABC students would still get his lesson planning, and I believe we would be responsible for having another teacher in the room. And as kind of silly as that sounds, remember that 60% of instruction, even in Plan B, is remote. So, and in his case, he built his entire course last year around Canvas, even though students were in the building. So students had access to that at home. And you'll see a lot of that from all teachers. Like we have been getting asked, when are we going to know about the LMS? When are we going to know about the LMS, learning management system? Other people call it like the online platform. And we are working with the faculty on that right now, and we'll be able to publish some of that info shortly. Ms. Thompson, regarding teachers teaching inside the schools and not at home, is that true? I actually don't have that information. I do believe that information is buried in an HR update somewhere, but I also think there's a caveat that they weren't sure yet. I don't know the answer to that, but that's being a pretty specific HR-involved question. I'm going to sort of walk around that one, not because it's not a good question, but because I just don't have really great info on it. Cohorts would be sent out soon. Do you have a date for that? And when we will know our actual first day of school if you are in section B? Okay, so the only information we have on when cohorts will be available, we heard at one point that it was going to be this week, the end of this week. I believe there's a chance that that has been pushed off as they wait to evaluate what happens with this virtual academy window. So we don't know when we're going to get that, and we don't know with that when we'll be able to announce schedules for what students are in the building when. But we know that we're in Plan B transition at the beginning of the year, which buys us a little bit of time. I'd have to go back to the board meeting, which you can check out on YouTube, but I believe they've committed to at least 2 weeks of Plan B transitional for everybody. So everybody's first day will be online on August 17th. This may be a WCPSS question, but when one kid or one teacher is diagnosed with without effect shutting down, that will probably be communicated by the district. It's definitely a district level conversation. We sort of understand how we're supposed to build the support network in for that, but we're not sure like how the actual machine functions. Ms. Franks, the teacher hypothetically could teach virtual academy and Plan Alphabet. I like that, Plan Alphabet. I'm going to totally steal that. So yeah, feasible. I actually anticipate us having more than just a few teachers teaching both Plan Alphabet and virtual academy. How that works in a day, I don't know. How we make sure that we provide teachers the time and support they need to think through that, I don't know. And like I've said before, it's going to come with a lot of grace from students, parents, and administration as teachers like get in and sort of sort this new muscle memory out. Any insight on the first campus day? No, and we won't know until the board and the superintendent reevaluate that later. And I honestly, we'll probably only know about that maybe 2 hours before they make it public or they go to a board meeting that is streamed live online. Sometimes in Ms. King's principals meeting, she's told things that are going to the board that afternoon. So in a lot of cases, also, the admin team here will be sitting at home, and everyone's favorite News and Observer reporter will tweet a thing with a link to a board meeting or a press release. I'm like, oh, I guess that's happening. So sometimes we're just learning it at the same time that you are. The remote learning days. So on the Wake County calendar, what is listed as RL days. Those are remote learning days. I believe it's anticipated that students will be out of the building. I also believe that the ability to build those into the calendar comes from some recently passed legislation, maybe from April or May. That's all I know about it. Could 1B students potentially all be in the same cohort? Ms. Kroot, can you clarify that for me? Could 1B students potentially be in the same cohort? I just don't know what 1B students are. Maybe it's because it's a Monday. And I'm sorry about that. I know that families will be in the same cohort. Oh, I bet it's supposed to be IB. Could IB students potentially all be in the same cohort? I understand now. Sorry. Probably not. And here's why. Let me think of a class. Well, even like a history of the Americas with Mr. Grow, right? We have several sections of that. But what generally happens because of the IB electives is that Mr. Grow will have one section that is notably below the average class size for those classes, and then I'll have one or two sections that are just really large. So if we put all of the IB students in one cohort, then all of a sudden and I guess for seniors it would be 20th century, but then all of a sudden you're talking about a situation where those students, we have too many kids in a classroom at one time, right? Like Mr. Grow's room is probably going to max out at 14, 15 kids, and if you have a class of 33, we just can't put them there. And then by the time you think about having to consider moving all those kids around to have enough space, I just don't think logistically it's actually safer. It seems nice to have them all together for sure, but from a logistical standpoint, understanding what they're asking us to do, I think it's counterproductive to the goal of getting classes to be smaller on site at one time. All right, I'm going to do an early last call for questions. We'll do a slightly longer one of these tomorrow because I don't have to go to a faculty meeting following this. But we'll do some questions. I'm going to let those build up in the comments. I'm going to go through calendars real quick. So when I got here at Millbrook, I had never used a calendar. Ms. King very quickly showed me that was not sustainable. So my first one was the standard Office Max appointment calendar, and what I liked about this one is that it has all the vertical, like each day is a vertical column, and there's something every hour. For me and my job that isn't delineated by bell schedules, this is what I needed to make sure that I stayed in order. I don't necessarily know that's the best for kids. I went from that one to a disc-bound system. I think this is just the Office Depot disc-bound system. I can't remember what it's called, the ARC Planner. A lot of the rings these days are sort of universal, but it works because you can buy all kinds of different inserts. You can tear out a page, and it has these proprietary ways to just punch that page back into the notebook. And this was nice for me because, if I messed up a week in my calendar, I could just stick an addendum page in there and clean it up. But this one did not come as this second year, I had to create my own vertical planner, but it didn't have the hours on it. So I just kind of had to guess spatially. Let me go back in time to the one I had before that. Oh, did I really not have it? Unbelievable. I don't know where I put those. So the one that I think I'm going to recommend for most students, again, is the weekly 2-page spread where you have Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday on one side, Friday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday on the other, and each day sort of gets a block. Because students will know first, second, third, and fourth period, that'll be really easy. And then I think it would probably be beneficial to have a calendar that also has the monthly spreads in it, so where you have the whole month over 2 pages, because then kids can put due dates and stuff in. This is the one that I showed everybody last week, Hobonichi, because it has the month by month, the weekly vertical, and individual dated pages for every single day of the year, all in one tiny little book. And for me, that's important because I need my calendar, but also as I go through my day, I often have to take little notes and reminders and things like that. And so there was a point where I had this for all of my long-term planning, and I was carrying just like a tiny journal, not a bullet journal. That's a whole thing that I actually would recommend for very few high school kids. But this was the notebook that trained me to get my weeks in order. So every single day in this one had this round clock face thing, and I would spend time every Sunday putting my schedule in, and then I had notes for every single day of the week. And so then I realized, man, this is great, but I don't have my long-term calendar in my hand. So this was in my office, this was in my hand, and I was always getting a little confused. And so ultimately I went with this because it was one calendar with both my calendar and my notes. And it's an A5 size, so it's half of an 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper. Also, I'm finding all these old treasures of things from years ago. That's hilarious. Okay, anyway, that's my calendar tour. Again, I recommend the weekly 2-page spread, not in vertical columns, but just sort of in blocks. So some quick questions before I have to run. Can seniors be together? Similar to the IB question, so our senior class has 535 students in it, roughly. We had 200 roughly sign up for Virtual Academy as of the first window. We'll see if that changes now, which brings the on-site total of seniors to roughly 330. And so in that situation, if they're all on site together, we would need 2 or 3 more teachers to cover teaching all of those seniors at the same time in the building based on the classroom size limits. We currently only have 3 teachers in the English 4 team, and even with them each teaching 3 English 4 classes a day, which they don't, some of them teach other things as well, that's like 36 or 37 per class, which we just can't fit in a room right now. That has been a question that's been asked a lot, but mathematically, based on what we are expected to do, that just doesn't really work out. Can the 2.5 hours of live instruction be a pre-recorded video of the teacher teaching? No, my understanding from the district is it's literally live. Like if the student were to ask a question, the teacher would be there live to answer the question. We also have been told that it should not be just a live stream of their in-classroom stuff, because that, again, that's not what most of our classrooms look like anyway. You watch these videos of like college lectures. That's part of why I'm a music major, because it turns out that organic chemistry is really hard, especially in a class of 100. So the live instruction has been updated to 2 to 3 per day in the Virtual Academy, and it should be some FaceTime with the teacher in a way that the student can interact. It's not just like watching a screen of a video. That sort of defeats the purpose of the synchronous stuff. But again, we don't, because of staffing requirements and scheduling requirements, we're a long way from knowing how or what that can look like, because at the end of the day, we have to make sure we're getting kids what they need, but we have finite resources with adults in the building. And just like we're having to consider, like, okay, students are at Virtual Academy, but how many of our students might be at home on Virtual Academy but have a sibling they have to watch so the parents can work? Like, those are things we have to take into account. Just because a kid is in virtual academy doesn't mean they can spend 6 hours in front of the computer. And it's the same for our teachers. I mean, we have a lot of teachers asking about childcare because they can't leave their kid at home when their student is in remote instruction, but they have to be here teaching. So again, it's like that, the departures board at a train station or an airport, where one thing changes and everything trickles down. How the teachers break up live time when you have 4 teachers. Will it be a normal school? We will have a schedule. It won't quite be like normal school in terms of we're going to be live for 90 minutes. But we are working on talking through how that's going to look. I anticipate we're going to ask some different teacher leadership groups to, I always liken things back to that scene in Apollo 13 where they have to figure out the carbon dioxide scrubbers, and they're like, hey, we don't have any more filters. We have to make this thing fit into that thing using these parts. And teachers are really, really savvy at that. When you say, look, here are the finite boundaries, what can work to get to this end? That's some of the best ways that systems in schools have been developed. So there will be a schedule. It will be published so that kids know, okay, if I'm in math, my live instruction happens at this time each day. When or how, we're nowhere close to that yet, but there will be a schedule that is communicated. How many IB students are there in the program this year? Juniors and seniors. Man, I think it's high 70s for seniors and mid 80s for juniors. I'd have to ask Mr. Barron, and he's in the woods right now playing Henry David Thoreau, which I support 100%. Can texting be online so that face-to-face time is maximized? Can testing be online? I'm assuming that's testing and not texting. Yeah, that's going to be a big change for us, is like really evaluating how do we do assessments that translate across the digital space and the analog space. But certainly attention, again, teachers want to be with their kids and they want to maximize that face-to-face time. And it's going to change how some teachers perceive assessment for sure. But I also think very quickly many teachers will come to the realization of, oh yeah, we've got to make sure. Hey, do you want us all together at the top of the meeting? We don't have to be. I mean, if you want somebody in the room, sorry. Well, we'll all be logged in. So anyway, testing, that's a good point. We're not there yet, per usual. Will the alphabet plan adhere to the regular school start time? Tentatively, yes. We're having conversations about, is that reasonable in the virtual time frame? Like when you don't have to travel, when you don't have to do all these things, is there a way to change that schedule to alleviate some other stresses that people might be facing in their life? Again, we'll have better ideas once this window closes and we can start making really concrete plans. In Plan B, and I'm going to go after these next 3 questions. So I like you, and I'll see you in the morning. In Plan B, will the remote class size be the same as the classroom size, or will remote classes join with other remote classes? I think in general, they're going to be about the same. I think that's just sort of how it's going to shake out. I could see a few situations where the dynamic is, look, you can have a slightly larger section and it's easier to manage your daily life here at school, or you can have smaller sections, but you're going to have to figure out how to balance that between Plan Alphabet and virtual. In general, though, I anticipate class sizes being roughly the same. Any word on AP summer assignments? Not yet. I'm sorry. Cool. Okay. Sorry, we ended on the, yep, sorry, I don't have an answer on AP summer assignments. As soon as we can communicate that, we will, though. So that being said, happy Monday. We'll be back tomorrow at 8:30. Depending on what information may come out of the school system or whatnot, we may consider an evening update tomorrow, especially if people start asking lots of questions about other considerations for the virtual academy. Always feel free to email me questions if you have a question that hasn't been answered on here that I might be able to go look up elsewhere. So yeah, have a wonderful, wonderful day. Stay safe. It's going to be hot out again, although apparently it's not been as hot as last year or the year before. So yeah, be safe, drink your water, and we will see you tomorrow morning. Faculty will see you in a few minutes. Bye.